Hello, awesome humans, and welcome to episode 5 of Charity Island Discs. First of all, just a massive thank you for the continual feedback that we get that's really, really positive. I think especially the last episode with Zoe Amar really struck a chord. She really shared her truth, and it was really joyous. So if you haven't checked that one out, do give it a listen. Also, as ever, like a massive thank you to Simon and the gang at Fundraising Everywhere. They are really the brains behind all of this. They make it happen. I'm sure you've all heard of Fundraising Everywhere, but they're the dudes who are casually changing the fabric of our sector for the better. Absolutely awesome people. So today we've got possibly one of my most favorite humans on the planet. I'm sure he needs no introduction, but we've got the awesome David Lacy who's coming on, and I'm just going to read out his bio because it was so lovely. So David started off as a face-to-face fundraiser in 2005, representing names like Save the Children, the National Deaf Children's Society, and Help the Aged. He's been in the sector ever since, making a couple of returns to face-to-face along the way. He's since worked for a range of awesome charities, including Batsy Dogs and Cats Home, London Zoo, ActionAid UK, and more recently, the Eve Appeal, where he's currently Director of Fundraising. Outside of work, he's chair of Clowns Without Borders UK, dad to an incredible daughter called Fawn, and he is quite the sassy tweeter. So it's my absolute pleasure to bring on board the one and only David Lacy. Hello, mate.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Awesome.
So excited to be here. I've watched all the other ones. I've been reeled in, and I can't believe the names I'm following as well. I massively appreciate the opportunity.
Mate, and you've been a massive advocate of the show right from the word go, so it's a long time coming getting you on board. So 8 tracks, how did you find choosing?
Yeah, it was a mixed bag. Like, obviously there's a few ways of splicing it, whether you're going for like what tracks you could just like bang out non-stop on a desert island, or trying to line it up with the kind of chunks of time and the narrative we're talking about. So I went for the latter, and then there was, I think, 5 or 6 of them. It was just incredibly obvious which ones I was going to choose for those, and the last couple took a bit longer to finalize. So I think I changed the 2 of them probably about 15 times, and the rest were kind of static. So I'm intrigued to see how they land. But yeah, it was kind of quite a fun process.
Oh, mate, and as we were saying just before we went live, like just receiving the track list is kind of like the highlight of this show for me. And when I opened up yours, I thought I knew you, but I think we're going to learn a lot more about you today. So let's kick off. So what have you chosen for your first disc, and why?
So first disc is one. This was kind of the one that could fit outside the overall narrative. So I just wanted one that was just a really great track, and it's one that I've just listened to tons of times over a really long period of time and just never get bored of. And they're also absolutely epic live, and this specific version was just incredible as well. So I went with The Cure and what is undoubtedly their best song, Push.
Excellent choice. So settle back, get yourself a cup of tea, and listen to Robert Smith's finest. This is The Cure. The Cure. You said great live band. I've never seen them live.
Oh, really? Yeah, they were just incredible. Like I saw them, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe like 6-7 years ago, maybe a bit longer than that, but it was at Royal Albert Hall, and they did their first 3 albums back to back. So it was just them playing. It was a ridiculously long gig, but it was absolutely epic. Like, it's definitely one of the best I've been to. Although I can't remember what I had like glandular fever or tonsillitis or something. So I was just doing straight TCP and just gargling it to try and just numb the pain. So I just remember being really uncomfortable, stinking out the whole like top row with TCP smell. But the gig itself was incredible.
There you go, perpetuating that goth ethic. At least it wasn't oil or something. Yeah. My journey with the Cure has been quite weird because my best mate, when we were 12, he discovered the Cure first. So I was obviously like, no, they're rubbish. So I had to revisit them later. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal band. Off with a banger there, mate. So let's get to know you a bit more. Let's take it back. Let's talk about where you're from and growing up.
Yeah, so I was born in Maidstone in Kent. So I've got 3 older brothers and an older sister as well. And then 2 older half sisters and older half brother as well, but the half siblings didn't live with us. Growing up, so my dad left school when he was 14 to become a window cleaner, and then while I was growing up, he was running a camping shop in Chatham, and then my mum left at 16, was a hairdresser for a while, and then when I was growing up, obviously she had her hands full with quite a few kids running about, and then did a couple of shop jobs and stuff as well. So we kind of were a bit pinched for cash a lot of the time, didn't do holidays, didn't do other stuff that other kids were doing, but like we're broadly fine. I think me as a kid, I was totally introverted, really like painfully shy, like just wouldn't engage with anybody. I think there's like 3 photos of me as a kid before 16, 17, just kind of just refused to have my photo taken. Like I remember at primary school, there was Father Christmas came in. I just absolutely shat myself because I knew I was going to have my photo taken and have to talk to this bloke. So I just hid under a table. I just refused to come out while the other kids were going wild because Father Christmas is here. So I was like proper shy. But I was really close to my brother. I was fully addicted to wrestling, football, computer games and stuff. Wrestling was I think I got a bit too into that and tried to take some moves into the playground and stuff. But broadly, yeah, I was like quite happy, just quiet kid, didn't read books, didn't draw, didn't do anything creative. I was just like wrestling, football, computer games. But yeah, it was quite a nice time, really. I think the bit I will mention kind of was going on in the background that will come through more like teenage years, but I feel like it's worth a mention. So my dad was quite ill for most of my childhood. So he had prostate and then secondary bone cancer. So kind of growing up, kind of saw the effects of that over time. He had like a lot of operations. He was in hospital a lot. So that was kind of a bit of a backdrop with like blips along the way. And then my parents as well they were both alcoholics to like quite a high level. So that definitely impacted me more and pushed me more introverted, made me quieter, not wanting to engage as much, and also pushed me much closer to one of my brothers. So I kind of had that really good relationship with him, but was much quieter with others around me. So that was definitely something that was impacting who I was becoming and what was going on. But as a kid, that age, you don't fully acknowledge those impacts at the time, I think. So I kind of knew stuff was up or people were behaving differently, but didn't quite attribute it to kind of the stuff, that was actually going on. But yeah, kind of outside of that stuff, though, I was broadly just happy and a general manic kid.
Oh, mate. Well, thank you for sharing your truth and honesty there. I think we've spoken in the past before, similar backgrounds in terms of alcoholic parents. So not only do I sympathise with what you went through, but also I think there'll be a lot of people out there who find what you're saying really helpful, especially looking at you now and the position that you're in. So thanks for that. Okay, so let's move on to your second disc. What have you chosen and why?
So this is absolute banger. I'm sure you'll agree. It's from. So this is a song this was one of the ones that immediately I knew. Like I was trying to sum up like my childhood or like just what was going on or what I was listening to a lot of that time. And this song is from the soundtrack of a movie that I just watched over and over and over again. And it's still my favourite film now. And it's just every time I listen to this song a ridiculous amount and just get a massive grin on my face every time it comes on. Like I can never tire of it. It's just really fun, really positive, and just reminds me of Sanka and the rest in Cool Runnings. So the song is by the Wailing Souls and it's Love You Want.
If you've not heard this, people, this is an absolute beautiful track from, I quite agree with David, from one of the greatest films ever made. So this is Wailing Souls. Oh, mate, brings it all back, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm just thinking how many times I've seen that film as well. I actually put it on for my son because I was like, "This is the greatest film ever. You've got to watch it." And he was like, "What is this rubbish?" And I got all flustered and just left the room. It was like, "Oh, do whatever you want to do." I came back an hour later and he was completely glued to it.
Oh, that's amazing. I showed my daughter recently. And it's so nice when you can have those experiences, isn't it? And pass it on. But I think her one takeaway was that now she always, because there's a scene in it where Sanka says to Baldy, he's like, "Can I draw a line down the middle of your head and make it look like a butt?" And she just says that to me non-stop now. Whenever she's got SAS coming on, that's what's really stuck with her. And we'll just be like in town or something and just shout that at me. So yeah, it was a mixed blessing showing it to her, but it was definitely nice to share the experience.
Brilliant. Yeah, play it forward. Cool. So you've been really open and frank about your childhood and taking your wrestling moves into school, which I would have loved to have seen. So let's move on past that to kind of the teenage years. How were they for you, and how hard did they hit you?
They definitely hit hard. I think this is definitely like a bit of a darker chunk. I mean, I was still really happy, still kind of buzzing, enjoyed being with my mates and stuff. But definitely, like, my parents' drinking went to another level, or I just recognised it more. I don't know, in that time. But some of those exchanges were pretty intense. Like every night, they'd just pass out on the sofa by like 8:30 in the evening. They'll just be totally out. And interactions before that weren't particularly fun. So definitely got like a lot more distance as time went on. I fully hated them. I just had no relationship with them. I hated my teachers at school. Like, I just didn't have the home environment to be able to. My parents didn't care about school, didn't really do them any favors when they were there. So I didn't really do my homework, or I wouldn't do it properly, or try and rush it on the bus on the way in or something. And yeah, it all got a bit chaotic. And then I started dealing with a lot of that through alcohol as well. So from quite young, I was drinking quite a bit. And it was kind of like vodka special brew snakebite style, rather than like a Carlsberg or a Bacardi Breezer or something.
Okay.
So it was quite intense. And then I kind of went off the rails a bit with it. And so by the time I was 15, 16, I was arrested. I ended up, like, my dad had to collect me after I'd spent the night in cells and see me get my fingerprints taken and stuff. Like, it was quite intense, and those exchanges were becoming more fraught. And I kind of recognised, like, I didn't have a proper wake-up call. I was still an idiot, still a complete dick. But I kind of, what I did realise was my home environment was really messing with me, and I just didn't want to be there. So when I was like, I moved out when I was like 16, 17, I moved out and just got a bed sit in town. And it was actually really good for me. So it was like 50 quid a week, this little like room in a basement. And it was pretty grim and quite a grim area, but was kind of fine for me at that time. And actually being able to support myself at that age, I felt quite good about. Like, I kind of had my own space, didn't have to worry about parents doing anything, being around. And yeah, it was kind of, it gave me a new kind of lease of life, I think. Just kind of, I had ownership over stuff, had some good jobs at the time. And I just started doing a bit better and kind of really enjoying myself. So that was quite cool. I think the other thing, just to mention, just to kind of finish up, I mentioned earlier, my dad was quite ill. So he died just a couple of weeks after my 18th birthday. So that definitely did hit me at that time as well. I think I kind of acted like nothing happened. Like, I didn't talk to any mates. I sent a text to a few people, just being like, right, it's happened. And then we just all went out and just went out clubbing like a few hours after it died. And I just kind of pretended, that's kind of a thing that happened. Let's move on. I never really spoke to anyone, but it definitely did impact me at the time. But yeah, I kind of ended my teenage years kind of feeling quite grown up, feeling quite happy with myself that, I'd got a deposit together for the bedsit I was renting, was paying my rent for a couple of years or a few years by that time, held down jobs and stuff. So I was kind of pretty pleased with myself as to kind of how that ended up, considering where it was heading.
Mate, absolutely. And, just once again, thanks for your honesty. As tragic as that is, it's actually really uplifting in terms of where you got to. And similarly, like, obviously this isn't about me, but just my empathy, massive parallels as well. I moved out when I was 16, and whilst it was terrifying, it was incredibly liberating to get away from the home life that I was in. So massive solidarity there, mate. So let's move on to your third disc. I can imagine why you've chosen it, but what have you chosen and why?
So this track is, this comes with a major swears warning, as you might be able to tell from the name. It's just one that it like totally sums up how I was feeling at the time, especially this one, like younger to mid-teens. Like, I was just listening to this non-stop, and just I remember like the chorus. I just remember walking around with it in my Discman, just fully being like, yes,
Discman.
like this is me. Like, yeah, Discman. I was wearing like Criminal Damage, like baggy jeans, and just just had that going on non-stop, just being like, yeah, this is me. Like, it just felt like it really resonated. It's quite intense, it's quite heavy, but it's Soulfly featuring Corey Taylor, who's the lead singer of Slipknot, and the song is called Jump the Fuck Up.
It certainly is. Yeah, but for the listening public, this is the real deal. Kick the kids out the room, whack up the volume, and enjoy some ultimate teenage anger. This is Soulfly.
But I'm not too proud. Maybe you would like to peek through the curtain at the same mistake you know you always make. But all I really wanna know is how you gonna lay the fuck back down or jump the fuck up.
Walking in the streets and looking all this shit, I'm full of hate, don't fuck with me. Walking in the streets and looking all this shit, open up your eyes and fucking see. We gotta drive against society, we got to fight the real enemy. Get the fuck up, stand the fuck up, back the fuck up.
All this is making things a bit insane, and I don't care who stares or stays. The only thing that matters is, will you reach out if you can't resist? Maybe you don't give a shit for the rest of us, but if you do, the time is now if it ever was. If you're gonna fight, what you gonna do? Jump the fuck up! Motherfucker, you don't understand all my hate. Motherfucker, you don't understand all my rage. Motherfucker, you don't understand all my pain. Motherfucker, you don't understand. How dare you single out my honesty, compare me to your travesties. I only want to see you fight the darkness you wanna live your life by. And if you're gonna quit, I don't give a shit. What the fuck, I'm a Mack truck. Are you gonna give up like a bitch or shut the fuck up?
Walking in the streets and looking all this shit, I'm full of hate, don't fuck with me. Walking in the streets and looking all this shit, open up your eyes and fucking see. We gotta drive against society, we got to fight the real enemy. Get the fuck up, stand the fuck up, motherfucker. I'm a self-destructive piece of shit. Spare me in, I don't know you a goddamn thing. This life is never rather sweet. I don't wanna be immortal or legend or anything. Get the longer I'm alive, the better off you'll be. Get ready for a bit of me, come on and
Bring back a few memories, that one.
It just makes me want to rage. It just makes me want to strop around a bit and then jump in a mosh pit. It's just phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I bet you spent a fair amount of time in your teenage years in mosh pits, right?
I really did. I know I saw Slipknot live when I was 15, and I don't know how I survived being in a mosh pit at 15 to Slipknot, which was quite intense at the time. And this like Soulfly, I was definitely really into, but like that sort of song was a bit lighter than most of the stuff that I like. So like it was all quite intense. So yeah, I don't know how I survived some of the gigs I went to. But there was definitely a club every Friday night we used to go to with it was a like indie club upstairs and then goth and metal downstairs, which was just epic and exactly what I needed, I think.
Yeah, no, similar to me. There was a club. I come from South End. There's hardly any clubs, but there was a club called the Pink Toothbrush just outside of South End. It sounds like that place from Police Academy. Like Friday night was metal night, and Saturday night was indie night, and that was me done. Really, that was all I needed throughout my teenage years. Cool. Okay, so you've been really frank about your childhood, moving out, all of that pent up rage, but kind of getting to a better place by the or a more comfortable place by the end of your teenage years. Let's talk about first jobs.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like first job was paper round. I know if you've said that so far, but do you remember the double bags? Did you ever get double bags of paper round? It was like the biggest moment. You got one each side. It was the biggest moment of my life. It was like when they thought you were strong enough, so I took it as like I'm well hard. Like as soon as you're strong enough to have 2 bags, you could do a double paper round. So instead of like £6 a week, you got 12 quid. And it was epic.
I obviously had a different physique to you.
It was honestly, that was one of the highlights of like however old I was then. It was amazing. But yeah, kind of first proper job was Argos, I think. So I got like a Christmas shift in the warehouse out the back, just like collecting stuff. So I did that. That was only a temp job for like 3-4 months maybe. And it was quite fun because 2 of my mates got the job at the same time. So we just used to dick about in the warehouse and not do too much. And it was all right. And then after that, I did double glazing sales for quite a while, like telesales. Like proper old school, just you get a phone book, you've got a pen and a ruler, and you just go down the list, just crossing them off, just manually dialing. And that was quite fun. Like I did that in the evenings after school. And that's how I paid for my bed sit as well to begin with, was through that. And I quite enjoyed it for a bit. It was also quite bad because we got free booze. So every time you got a lead, you got a shot of vodka or a half pint of beer. So I used to get quite tanked up whilst working there. And there was definitely like a peak, like after a certain number, you just had the flow and you were amazing on the phones. And then after a while, just be on the floor, just calling people and giggling down the phone. But yeah, I did that for a while, which was quite good. And then I kind of jumped around a bit after that. So I started feeling like a bit of a dick doing double glazing sales. I realized as I started to mature a bit, like I'm just calling old people and getting them to buy conservatories they don't need. And that's quite a horrible thing. So I moved on and then just did a whole range. Like I was a window cleaner for a bit. I was a street cleaner for a while, which I really enjoyed. It was like at this like industrial park, and I got my own shed. Like you had a shed and you just did 2 rounds or 3 rounds a day. And then kind of sat back in your shed, which I thought at the time, I was like, this is so cool. Like no boss, no one's like checking up on me. I'm just sitting in the shed getting paid. So I like did that and did like some works on like different building sites and stuff like that. So like all of it was quite manual, not really fun. I had a horrible 4 a.m. shift in B&Q, which was like one of the worst jobs I've ever had, like the fluorescent lighting at 4 a.m. And I used to go straight from my club. Like I'd go out with my mates and then get a taxi to B&Q. And then somehow just like off my face do 6 hours of like dragging stuff around in pallet trucks. Yeah, it was it was vaguely fun. And but I started getting a bit frustrated definitely at like, I remember I got turned down as well from a job at McDonald's. I got turned down from a job at Sports Direct and got turned down from one at Wilkinson's, Wilco's, whatever it's called. And there was a few in a row. I was just like, started to feel a bit trapped towards the end, but I was also most of them were actually quite fun, didn't have much responsibility. The pay was enough for my 50 quid a week for my bed sit and then be able to go out. So yeah, it was kind of quite a quick succession of jobs between like 15, 16 up until kind of 18. It was all quite fast paced, I think.
Mate, and you had your own shed.
Yeah, exactly. Absolute baller, mate.
So let's move on. Last track was track number 3. That was Soulfly. So track number 4? What have you chosen and why?
Yeah, so this is the last of the intense metal. So people should hopefully bear with it. I've chosen this one because the lead singer I'm totally obsessed with, so Serge Tankian, is just an incredible campaigner. Like, all of his lyrics are just, as you'll see in this song, are just really intense, but he just like communicates in a way which is really accessible for a lot of people, especially when I wasn't reading books. I just wasn't aware of the world around me, to be honest. Loads of stuff going on, and loads of the stuff I did learn politically and kind of started moving towards more campaignery stuff was definitely through metal and through bands like this. And I thought as well, like, there's a few layers to it, but without going really dark again, there was definitely a time towards the end where I was like, I need to get out of Maidstone, and I'm getting turned down for all these jobs. I don't know what I can do. And I remember, because I still had stuff with the police at that time, I was like, I should just get sent to prison. Like, if I just do something, like if I can gauge it right, I could just go away for a couple of years, like really naively and ridiculously thinking. But I was like, now I've got to worry about rent and jobs and stuff, and I could actually just have a break, because already a few years in, I was finding the cycle quite intense, especially getting turned down for those other jobs. So the song is System of a Down, Prison Song. So it kind of resonates on a few levels, and it's one that I always come back to, that just kind of, I think I owe a lot to it from the campaigning element of it, and even the band today still do some awesome songs around this stuff. So it's quite intense, quite hard listen. The start of this video is incredible, but also if you can listen to the lyrics, it is just kind of quite accessible and really powerful and incredible, I think.
I completely agree. I absolutely love this track, and lyrically, System of a Down, it's another sort of light bulb moment in my sort of move towards activism, same as Public Enemy was. They really are one of the good guys. So let's have a listen to System of a Down.
I think it's too hot today. It feels like a prison. Like a prison. They're trying to build a prison. They're trying to build a prison. Became conveniently available for all the kids. Following the right movement to come down with your iron fist. Cause became conveniently available for all the kids. I buy my crack, my smack, my bitch right here in Hollywood. Nearly 2 million Americans are incarcerated in prisons and prison system of the U.S. They're trying to build a prison. They're trying to build a prison. They're trying to build a prison. Another prison system. Another prison system. Another prison system. Mind the drag offenders, tell your prisons you don't even flinch. All our Texas paying for your words against the new numbers. Mind your drag offenders, tell your prisons you don't even flinch. All our Texas paying for your words against the new numbers. I buy my crack, my smack, my bitch right here in Hollywood. The percentage of Americans in the prison system has doubled since 1985. They're trying to build a prison. They're trying to build a prison. They're trying to build a prison. Another prison system. Another prison system. Another prison system. They're trying to build a prison. Trying to build a prison. Trying to build a prison for you and me. Oh, baby. War research and successful drug policy shows that treatment should be increased. And law enforcement increased while abolishing mandatory minimum sentences. War research and successful drug policy shows that treatment should be increased. And law enforcement increased while abolishing mandatory minimum sentences. Utilizing drugs to pay for secret wars around the world. Drugs are now your global policy. Now you police the globe. I buy my crack, and real good. Oh, baby.
Yeah, absolute banger again. You haven't blemished your scorecard as far as I'm concerned, David. So yeah, thanks again. Yeah, this trajectory of your life is really, really, really interesting, and we're just at the point now where, you know, it's starting to get a bit much for you. You're on a sort of hamster wheel of jobs. So let's talk about kind of how you stumbled into the charity sector and kind of the jobs that you did up until the one that you do now, which we'll touch on after the next track.
Yeah, so I think getting into charity was I'd seen face-to-face fundraisers out absolutely loads. So that was my first job. So I kept getting stopped just because I was like 6'2", 6'3", had a beard when I was like 17. So I just kept getting stopped by them trying to get sign-ups and stuff. So I ended up chatting to them loads. And I just kind of thought there was one person in the team around Maidstone that was just really cool, really sold the job. She seemed incredible. And I was just like, as soon as I can, I'm going to try and jump ship and kind of work with those guys. So as soon as I could, I did. And I had the interview was, let's go to this cafe, right? Sell me this pen. All right, put a bib on and come with me kind of thing. Wow. It was quite fast paced. Weird, in like a couple of years of doing face-to-face, never met anyone from the charities, which I know has changed quite a lot now, but never they never reported on attrition, never reported on any of those metrics, and never met anyone from the charities, which is kind of wild. But the job, I just had the best time. I just absolutely loved it. It was roaming around Kent. So I just got out of Maidstone, like for me, because I never learned to drive, didn't have the cash to do it, and just didn't really go anywhere. I was just in Maidstone all the time. So suddenly going to a different town every day was just amazing. The people I met were incredible. And again, it opened my eyes to some more like just different types of people outside my immediate friends network, and more like campaigny type. Like one of the guys was he was on the Hunt Saboteurs and stuff, and just hearing that for the first time and being like, I want to go out with them and like do some like stuff with them sounds quite fun. And it was just really good. Like it gave me everything I needed at that time. I started feeling better about myself, like got a sense of purpose. It was quite good to push myself out my comfort zone and start like just going actively chatting to people rather than being quite introverted. And also, like you'll know from face to face, right? And you have to like be top of your game all the time. Like if you're horribly hungover, you're not going to get the sign up. So it was also quite handy for me just to kind of get my stuff together and just make sure I was, you know, not staying out too late, not drinking too much, not too much other stuff going on. And yeah, I just had the best of times.
Yeah, no, and you know, once again, similar trajectory for me. I was completely lost as a person and as a professional until I stumbled blindly into face-to-face fundraising. It was my entry point into charity fundraising, and yeah, just the sense of camaraderie. I've still got friends now from the very first face-to-face gig that I ever had. Spencer Gardner, if you're listening, thanks, man. You kept me safe. But yeah, just but when were you doing it? Like 2005?
Yeah, that's right. You were before me, weren't you? You were like proper early days.
But even 2005, it was that sense of you felt like a pirate sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like you were making your own destiny. It's a really interesting dynamic. You know, not an office job. You're out there. You could make your day good or bad. Do you know what I mean? I think that instilled in me a sense of, with every job that I've had since, that it's kind of down to you. You can do this. So yeah, awesome. So where are we? Track number 5. What have you chosen and why have you chosen it?
So this one was just because it just reminds me of my time doing face to face. And this was another one that was just immediate. And it's not necessarily a song I listened to loads at the time, although I was enjoying some of that stuff in the clubs at the time. But I just remember, so in Kent, there's a real range of sites for face to face. Some like there's the major towns like Maidstone, Folkestone, Chatham, stuff like that. But there were these tiny little villages which were just awful to go to because there was just no one coming out. And there'd be like 5 of you lined there, and there'd just be like one person going to the post office. You're all sprinting, trying to be the first one to get in. And it was just, and every time at one of these sites, there was like Biddenden, Tenterton, like these tiny, I don't know why they were booked, but this guy on the team just used to sing this song, just pacing up and down the street nonstop. And it was just ended up just being really haunting. But just like every time, either at the end of the day when it's like pissing down rain and everyone's gone, or just in these little villages, he was always singing Ghost Town by the Specials. So that's the next track I've chosen.
Brilliant. And it has to be said that Ghost Town by the Specials is possibly one of the greatest songs ever made. So I had an absolute pleasure to introduce to it. So let's settle back and enjoy the Specials.
This town is coming like a ghost town. All the clubs are being closed down. This place is coming like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor. Man, even though that is quintessentially
like early 80s, the production on that track could have dropped any time. It's a absolute banger. And you got to have love for the specials as well. I remember once when I worked at Amnesty, like you used to get like random people in reception all the time. I remember walking into work one morning, Jerry Dammers was sat in reception, and I was just like, this is why I work at Amnesty. yeah, no, absolutely brilliant.
That's incredible. You know, they're playing Brighton in September.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually seen them live at all, but Terry Hall, yeah, beautiful man. I listened to some podcasts recently with Terry Hall on, and his background is tragic as well, like really interesting character developed there. Cool. Okay, so we talked through face to face. Should we have a pop at talking about were there any charity jobs between that and the one that you've got now, or should we dive straight into the jobs that you've got now?
Yes, I'll do a quick kind of so after face to face, so I got kind of I knew that I wanted to get out of Maidstone properly, so I jumped ship. I was looking at a few different places actually. I weirdly looked at the army at that stage. I just didn't know what options were out there, which is ridiculous for my political views and how pathetic I am. But I was just like, I looked at the army. There was this job going in Wales at dog kennels where you got your own caravan. And then there was also a job going at Battersea, living on site. And I ended up getting the job at Battersea living on site. So I did that for a few years.
Living on site? What
yeah. So it was a Battersea Dogs Home, but it was their site in Old Windsor. Wow. Just lived on site. Again, it was 50 quid a week. There was a chef that cooked all the lunches, which is wild. And you just lived in this massive building. There was, I think, 7 or 8 of us living there. So it was just absolutely epic, just living kind of middle of nowhere. Just, pay wasn't that great, but when you've only got 50 quid a week, no transport and stuff, that was amazing. So I did that for a few years. Then went back into face-to-face for a bit with guide dogs, and then went to London Zoo was my first kind of proper office-based fundraising role, which was just epic and set me up so much for everything that came after. Like they just let me do stuff that was just fun and just like have a real sense of autonomy. So like no matter what it was, I was like, I think we should do face-to-face. Here's a proposal. And all of a sudden I was managing an in-house face-to-face team, which was amazing. And I had to do every aspect of it. So I was doing like, created the journeys, did all the direct debit processing, like manually sending through to the bank, did the thank you letters. I trained up, like recruited people through Gumtree, trained them all up, printed all the materials, was going down Ryman's to get the carbon copy paper, and then going out fundraising with them. And then in the morning, booking the sites on a Monday with PFRA, like every element I was doing. Wow. But it was amazing, like just to have that going. And then I did the same model with TM. So for telephone, I just sat in the zoo by myself for 3 weeks in the evenings, just calling after work, and just had open scripts. So I was just doing what I wanted and got a few legacy pledges, got direct debit upgrades, got new cash gifts, got membership. I could just do anything. And then they rolled out to agency once I proved its worth. So that kind of stuff was just epic in terms of experience. And I just really owe a lot to the leadership team there for having that kind of just empowering so much and just like,
that is an incredible springboard with all that knowledge that you've gained from face to face, to be given that blank canvas to go on and make it fly. That's incredible.
That's like pretty much like the director there, James, who's still there. He was properly just like knew I didn't have the office skills. Like the interview, I was just ridiculous. Like I just had no idea what to say. I'd never had like a proper office interview, but he just recognized that they had some gaps that someone with face-to-face skills could fill. And it was awesome. It was even stuff like it was quite early on. There were like 2 big problems. One is we're getting loads of complaints because the queues are too big. So all the phones are jammed with people just complaining and shouting at us. And then also our membership numbers are down. And I was like, well, why don't I just go up with a clipboard? I'll walk up and down the queue. I'll sign people up to membership in exchange for fast track entry. I was like, well, why wouldn't you do that? And then all of a sudden, like, that's the thing, and gets rolled out. So it was really just like, just have ideas and run with it. So yeah, that properly set me up so much. I think like a mix of that and face-to-face is what's made me as a fundraiser, definitely. Yeah. And then after that, I just had kind of a bunch of IG manager roles and then a head of fundraising and stuff like that, which were all really good and awesome as well. Up until now, where I'm at Eva Pill as director of fundraising. So kind of, again, broader remit.
Well, we'll pause it there. We'll talk a bit more about the Eva Pill after the next track. But yeah, what an incredible springboard. And similarly, you know, coming from Direct Dialogue, you know, I managed to blag my first head of IG role, having never used a computer. And all of a sudden, when there's a lot of Excel going on and whatever, I had to really backfill. I did a lot of evening classes just to get up to speed. But I genuinely think that background in Direct Dialogue is so precious in terms of like driving you forward. So phenomenal to hear. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like people don't do it as much anymore. I feel like it's harder to get into jobs because people are so dead set on those office skills. I don't know. And I feel like, you know, with all the diversity issues and everything we're facing, like face-to-face teams are the most diverse if you compare them to your office team, same as TM. But I just find it wild that more charities either that have high volume face-to-face activity don't set up a feeder program to bring those people into the office over time, or at least equip them with the skills that they need and give them the insights to help them springboard. Or just more charities don't take that small risk. It's easy to train someone up in Word and Excel and Outlook versus the skills that you get from someone spending a year actually chatting to people and, you know, doing loads of pitch testing and everything else over time. I just think it's wild that the sector doesn't recognise that.
Absolutely. And we need to keep pushing that one forward, because there's a natural bottleneck with Direct Dialogue as well. And if people don't have the opportunities to either progress up or to transfer to charities, we're going to lose them, you know, and these are some of the most, it's the future of the sector. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Right, let's move on. We've spoken about your different roles in the sector, and we're up to disc number 6. So what have we got, and why have you chosen it?
So this one was one. I was really debating about. This was one of the tougher ones. Which one to stick in here, because it just changes the vibe so much. But I think I kind of glossed over the IG manager roles, which was quite a long period of time. It's like, I don't know, like 7-8 years or something of my time in the sector. But within that time as well, my partner and I at the time had moved out of London, which was the reason I left London Zoo, was relocated to Kent and then to Hastings, East Sussex, where I am now. And we had my daughter in that time, which was kind of the nudge for moving out. And then this was a song that I was listening to a lot around that period. And also it's really cheesy, and I feel a bit sick even saying it, but it kind of just adjusted my focus and my purpose and everything. And just actually, I'd been and this is something that, so children that grow up with alcoholic parents, one of the like personality traits that they've been shown to have is being like proper workaholics and trying to prove their value through work. And that's something which definitely was me and is me still, something I actually try and work on. But it kind of helped me refocus. Actually, this stuff doesn't matter as much. Like, I can still be really passionate about work, and it obviously has real value. But what I should really be focusing on is my partner and my daughter. And all I really want is for them to be all right and for us to have a place to live. And that's what kind of this song's all about. So it's Animal Collective and My Girls.
Brilliant. Well, this is an absolute new one on me. I've got absolutely no point of reference. So let's big it up for Animal Collective.
It stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls. I don't need seem like I care about material things like a social stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls. There isn't much that I could need. Social stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls. I don't need seem like I care about material things like a social stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls. I don't need seem like I care about material things like social stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls. I don't need seem like I care about material things like social stats. I just want 4 walls and Adobe slats for my girls.
Yeah, another banger there. Really different change of vibe in terms of the tracks now. But yeah, no, really great. So we've come up to almost where you are now with the Eve appeal. You've had your daughter. You've had a slight recalibration in terms of what's important. Let's talk about now and where you are.
Mm-hmm. So now I'm at Eve Appeal. So I joined them from I was at an international development charity for a bit as head of fundraising, and that there was a merger there. So I was kind of looking around, and Eve just looked really interesting. So it's a gynecological cancer charity. So it's something which was in some ways very different to any I'd done before. Like I'd only worked at one cancer cause before, but I'd worked for quite a lot of feminist organisations or working on projects specifically with women, and that was something that quite interested me. And I went in as head of fundraising, and then over the kind of first 5 months, it was quite obvious there was a different scope needed at the organisation. So there was a restructure, a few bits changed around, and I was moved up to director of fundraising within that time, which was awesome. And really, the remit is just phenomenal. Like they know they need to do fundraising differently. There's some good parts to the program, and there's some parts which just have never really worked. And they've had some really good director of fundraising or head of fundraising in the past, but they just haven't managed to push through the change that they recognise is needed. So it was quite an interesting kind of challenge. And it's just been really, really fun. Like I've just driven tons of change, and so far everything's worked out, which is phenomenal. At some point that won't be the case, but so far it's just been like absolutely perfect. And the board are just kind of fully committed. They're really sold. They really value me and the wider team, which is amazing. So they're always just really supportive. They're doing everything you'd want a board to be doing. And even for like charity, like smallish health charity, like 1 to 2 million bracket, coronavirus isn't going to be the best of times for a charity like that, especially most income coming from community and events. And we managed to shift really fast, like finished financial year, like original financial year, within like 5-6% of original budget, which was pretty impressive. And then we were over kind of reforecast for the whole rest of the year. But setting up for budget this year, I was speaking to the board really openly. and was actually, I want more money to spend, and we're probably going to raise less money than years prior because of where we are. And I know a lot of boards or senior management teams have really pushed back on that. Whereas for them, it was just like, yeah, that makes sense. So there we go. That's the budget then. You have more money to spend, and we recognise this year you're going to raise less, but we'll start building back up as we need to restructure and redefine the programme. So yes, that's been really fun, just like having them having my back, them being really open with it, kind of good boss there as well. And just the team are just incredible. So I think it's been really fun being able to just, properly recalibrate, shove IG forward, shove corporate and trust and foundations forward, and just recalibrate others has been, a really fun time and something I'm really enjoying doing right now.
Mate, and from the outside looking in, you genuinely are smashing it and driving change, and it's really brilliant to view, and to actually pitch that thing that I've always been going on about how the fundraising team in the short term needs to spend more to raise less, to actually pitch that and get that buy-in from boards. That's phenomenal, man. And whilst you've got a good team around you, that's kind of you as well. So excellent stuff. So let's move on to track number. It's going so quickly. Track number 7. What have you chosen and why?
So this is a song that is slightly more chilled than a lot of other ones I've had so far. I think it's one, again, that's just followed me around for ages. It's one that I can't remember when I first heard it, but I just haven't stopped listening to it. It's one, there was that really sassy, Spotify, you could upload your Spotify playlist and this computer just slagged you off basically in the algorithm.
Yeah.
It was just like, you need to get over this song. And I can't remember how many times I've played it, but it was something that's actually quite sad. So it's a song that I just absolutely love. I just listen to it no matter what I'm doing. It would always calm me down or help me to focus, whether I'm like playing around in Excel, whether it's on ridiculous train journeys up to London. And it's one of the few songs I can play well on guitar. And my daughter's been learning it as well, which is awesome. So she knows which string to pluck, and I do the finger movements for her at the moment. But it's been really sweet with her kind of wanting to get involved with it, which is really nice. And they're also the last band I saw before lockdown as well. So this time last year. And the gig was just epic in Bexhill, which was really weird for them to visit there. The band is Explosions in the Sky, and the song is Your Hand in Mine.
This is once again, this is completely left field for me, but I listened to it yesterday and it's absolutely beautiful. So sit back and enjoy Explosions in the Sky. So you can actually play that on guitar.
Yeah, it's hard because there's 3 of them playing guitars. So I can do 2 parts at the same time, but I can't. There's people that can do all 3 at once, like it's like a variation of it. But I can't play 2 different tunes at the same time. I just fall over myself, and my brain's not wired that way. But I could do the rest, and it's just proper relaxing to play along to and just properly chill out.
And you getting your daughter involved as well. I got Daniel to learn Smoke on the Water on bass guitar, which is 1 string.
Oh, nice.
And then he put it down and said, I can play guitar now. That's it.
Oh, that's incredible. That's so sweet.
But Fawn, is she a musician?
Yeah, she's getting there. I mean, at the moment, she's still pretty young. She's only 7, so she's like smashing out the recorder and enjoying that. She really wants a drum kit, and she's always like banging away on the table. And she's asked for a keyboard for her birthday as well. So she is pretty into it. I think she's trying to find her instrument. Guitar, she does definitely have a good time with. She's really into some rocky stuff, as you'd imagine with me exposing her to that stuff. But the guitar is just, the one I've got is just a bit too big for her, and strings are a bit harsh for her fingers. So she's definitely like actively wanting to do it, but just hasn't quite managed to settle in yet. But that might be something else coming up, I think.
Brilliant stuff. Well, you've taken us on one hell of a journey, mate. It's a lot to reflect on, but also massively inspiring. Looking at where you are and what you're doing, and how awesome you are. So let's look to the future, both sort of professionally and personally. What's the future look like for David Lacy?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Like, I think definitely. I mean, the one thing is like my daughter is definitely the most important thing to me and always will be. So I think just trying to be the best dad I can be is definitely at the forefront of my mind. So I think I have to look at stuff through that lens, and there's a few changes that might bring. Like pre-lockdown, I was commuting 5 hours a day to the office and back every day, and that definitely was taking its toll on me. Like, so I have my daughter every Wednesday evening, and then every weekend for the whole weekend as well, which is pretty cool, and I'm lucky to have so much time. But once you've done 5 hours a day commuting, plus your day job, plus trusteeship, plus other voluntary stuff, pretty knackered by the weekend, and it's quite hard to keep pace sometimes. So I think that's something I'm kind of looking at, that I definitely want to be in Hastings a bit more, and just feel a bit more settled. So that's definitely on the horizon. I definitely want to keep doing what I'm doing, like director fundraising role is definitely where I want to be. Like, I just really enjoy the remit, and I really enjoy the wider remit beyond just fundraising as well that comes with those senior management positions. And it's something I wish I'd recognised earlier in my career, was that, you know, you can't have a decent fundraising strategy unless the people strategy is working properly, unless operations are there, unless service delivery is where it should be, unless monitoring evaluation is working. Like, all that stuff I really enjoy kind of building that knowledge now as well. So I think, yeah, kind of broadly, it's, you know, properly bedding in Hastings, spending a bit longer here rather than just on trains every day. Definitely keep doing director of fundraising roles over the next few years and beyond, hopefully, and carry on just kind of pushing for positive change in the sector as well, which is something that, yeah, I'm really keen for, and having a bit more diversity and like proper, just equitable processes, but also just diversifying from the white middle class kind of group that we have right now, and just trying to push beyond. So that's something I'm kind of wanting to do more and more with as well as we kind of move on. And I guess the other element on top of all of that is trying to get better at self-care. So I need to also make a bit of time in amongst other stuff just to chill out a bit more, I think.
Brilliant. That all sounds amazing, my working class brother. And yeah, the more of that we can get into the sector, the better. So this is it. The final track, number 8. I'm genuinely terrified by this. No point of reference at all. So what have you chosen and why?
So I've chosen, I was worried I didn't have a certified banger in the mix, so I thought I'd keep it for this one. It's definitely there. And I'm playing to the fundraisers peak end rule, that hopefully everyone will remember this moment, and just ignore all of the metal and horrible stuff you've heard previously. So this is a song that I've probably danced to this song more than any other song in the world. And it's one that me and my daughter just go crazy to every weekend. She just runs in, we've got like a disco ball lamp, and she'll just sprint into the room and be like, disco. And it's just, yeah, all right. And we just always just chuck this on, go wild to it. And it's just a really sweet, really positive song that seeing your 7-year-old daughter sing along to and dance around to. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, it's just really sweet. So the song is Jojo Siwa. I feel so down with the kids. And the song is Every Girl's a Supergirl.
Brilliant. And I think, you know, lyrically, for a 7-year-old girl to be getting messages like that whilst dancing with her dad in the front room is just a beautiful. That's the childhood I wanted. So absolutely brilliant. So let's have it for Jojo Siwa. Is it?
I think so. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, with you. You're younger than me. So Jojo Siwa.
Maybe you noticed something about us, the things we do so well. We do it better when we're together, and everyone can tell. We show up for each other, listen up to each other. It's a real kind of power, and we're making it ours. We look up to each other, looking out for one another. It's a real kind of power, and we're making it ours. Look out, we're coming your way. Shout out, got something to say, yeah. We save the day every day, oh, hey. Every girl's a supergirl, fearless, unstoppable, courageous, invincible. We're human, unshakable. Every girl's a supergirl, friendly, relatable, like diamonds, unbreakable. Down to earth, we run the world. Every girl's a supergirl. You got a story, so don't you worry. Say what you need to say. This is your chapter, happy ever after. Live every day that way. We show up for each other, listen up to each other. It's a real kind of power, and we're making it ours. We look up to each other, looking out for one another. It's a real kind of power, and we're making it ours. Look out, we're coming your way. Shout out, got something to say, yeah. We save the day every day, oh, hey. Every girl's a supergirl, fearless, unstoppable, courageous, invincible. We're human, unshakable. Every girl's a supergirl, friendly, relatable, like diamonds, unbreakable. Down to earth, we run the world. Every girl's a supergirl. Hey. Let me hear you. Look out, we're coming your way. Shout out, got something to say, yeah. We save the day every day, oh, hey. Every girl's a supergirl, fearless, unstoppable, courageous, invincible. We're human, unshakable. Every girl's a supergirl, friendly, relatable, like diamonds, unbreakable. Down to earth, we run the world. Every girl's a supergirl. How was that one? Yeah.
There we are, mate. All over. So yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. So let's move on to book and luxury items. So you're allowed a book on your charity island. So what book would you take?
Yeah, I've just realised I didn't come to a decision on a book, so I will pluck one now. Let's go with No Longer Human by Desai. I think it's Osamu Desai. It's it's really dark. I feel like probably too dark, but I read it quite recently, and it's just one of those ones where I just couldn't put it down. And it's kind of it's from the genre like Japanese eye novels. So there's the kind of semi-confessional, like autobiographical style, like, and it's the author's just epic. Like, he had a really tough life, and just like some really dark moments and stuff. And it was just, the book's all about how he feels alienated from society and just kind of working his way through that. So the kind of no longer human comes from, there's a phrase in the book which basically says he's like feels disqualified from being a human being. So it's pretty dark, but I just feel like there's so many layers to it. It's one of those books that you can just read, like it's quite an easy read and want to just kind of smash your way through, but you can read it over and over again and just digest different stuff from it, and kind of the commentary on society and stuff is just really interesting. So I feel like it could keep me occupied, if not, and kind of be a nice accompaniment to the first two metal songs I had.
Nice. I'm actually going to buy that book. That sounds right up my street. Nice one. So you're also allowed a luxury item. I've got no idea what you've chosen. So what are you going to bring?
So I thought, so loads of people go for like notebook and stuff, which is a good shout. But I thought, why not like a stick and poke tattoo kit with loads of black ink? Because then I can like drawing and like arty stuff's a bit more relaxing, and then also it's a bit more hardy than some paper that might get wet or might go missing. And learning to tattoo would be really fun, and it'd also be quite fun to like come out like memento and just absolutely coated in all of your memories from your time on the island. So yeah, I'll go for stick and poke tattoo kit with a ton of black ink.
Nice. I'd like to see what you look like after 20 years on that. Brilliant. And the most divisive question that nobody likes apart from me is if you had to choose one of those 8 tracks to take on your desert island, which one would you choose and why?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely tough, but I think Explosions in the Sky, Your Hand in Mine, I feel like it could just keep me calm, keep me grounded. It's also like layered in that it's gone across like so much. I can't remember when it came out, like 2000s, early 2000s. So I feel like it's just like accompanied me a long way. The fact it has like the layer, like crossover with my daughter as well, like reminds me of her. The gigs that I've been to see them, like it just means a lot to me. And I feel also it's getting your money's worth. It's like 8-9 minutes long. So I might as well just, kind of include for that reason. But it's just a beautiful song. And I feel like it could just chill me out and change mindset on this island. So yeah, definitely going with that one. I'm
really glad you chose that one because, like I said, it's new to me, and I'm sure it'll be new to loads of other people. So is it worth revisiting the rest of their back catalogue, or is that just one?
100%.
Yeah.
No, they're all epic. Absolutely epic.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, there we are, mate. We did it. Thank you so much for coming on. Like, that's such a powerful message. And first of all, I hope you enjoyed it.
I definitely did. It's been really, I feel like I just kind of rattled through some stuff, probably a bit too quick, but it's been really nice. Like, it's obviously just awesome to be able to have a chat and to have the opportunity to catch up with you as well. But also, like, genuinely, I know anyone would say this, but this is actually my favorite podcast and one I've been really enjoying since you kicked off with Leslie earlier on. So it's just like absolute privilege to be on it. And I said to you, like, I haven't been on any other podcasts, or, I don't really speak at conferences and stuff, but this is one that like genuinely appealed to me. I just thought it would be quite a nice opportunity to kind of share a few bits, but be able to have that chat with you as well. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it and massively appreciate it.
Oh, mate, and thank you. Like, I'm honoured to have you on, and thank you for sharing your truth. And I just really hope that there's a lot of, younger fundraisers out there who, don't know what their next step is, or, maybe feeling a bit lost, that listen to your story and see where you are now and what a fucking mega human you are, and it drives them forward. So, yeah, thank you. The final thing I'd say to you is that, talking to you, I know that the future of the sector is in really good hands. So thank you for being so awesome. And to the wider listening public, really hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. Keep being kind and keep being human. Thanks very much. Oh, fucking hell.
Thank you.